Samopomich Party and Serhiy Vysotsky from People's Front Party. They will describe the session of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly on the results of the winter session and how Ukrainian delegation worked there. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. I would like to start with the information that last week we had winter annual OSCE parliamentary session, taking into consideration the international events and the situation in Ukraine. This session was of paramount importance for Ukraine because the Russian aggression has been spreading not just in Ukraine currently, but also the information aggression is spreading in Europe too. That's why this Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE was important for us. During the session, there was the bureau sittings of the Economic and Political Committees of OSCE, Committee on Human Rights, and there was a special debate of the parliamentaries devoted to the situation in Ukraine and possible ways to resolve the situation. And I would like to draw attention to this debate. I would like also to point out and underscore that during all the events, even during meals, lunches, etc., dinners, Ukraine was in the center of attention, and this happened due to the coordinated work of our delegation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our embassy in Austria. That is a big team of professionals contributed to the positive results, positive outputs of this week. What does it mean, positive results? Within 3 days, we have found out that the unity of European countries, which Russian Federation attempts to break up, it is becoming stronger and stronger. Just an example, the Russian Federation tried to make a big provocation. They wanted to register a representative of Rom Crimea, Muscovity, as a participant of the Russian OSCE delegation, as a representative of the local authorities, and the Russians not just tried to do this, to register this person, but also they tried to insist on it. But also the Regulations Committee and Bureau of the OSCE rejected to do this and repulsed the requirement of Russian Federation, and even the Europeans themselves were surprised how unanimously they made the decision. During that week, we had a meeting with the Parliamentary People's Party. And this faction in the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly made a declaration to supporting Ukraine, and one of the provisions in that declaration is devoted to withdrawal of Russian weapon, and another provision about immediate liberation of Nadia Savchenko. And during this session of OSCE, there was a special press briefing where Vera Savchenko and attorneys of Nadia Savchenko participated, and they very seriously and very specifically informed the international community that Nadia is a very bad health condition due to starvation, political starvation, and the international organizations now are demanding her immediate liberation. Then that high degree of solidarity was reflected in 99% of statements made in favor of Ukraine, and this was only the Russian Federation which expressed counter-Ukrainian position. Also, I would like to point out how much Ukrainian diaspora in Austria supported us and how seriously they assisted us. The international community was able not just hear Ukrainian parliamentarians, they also heard the opinion of Ukrainian diaspora in Austria. That's why I would like to mention that this winter session of the Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE was very positive. It demonstrated specific unity, very strong unity. Russian Federation, which tried to ruin that unity, reached nothing. They tried to postpone some issues, and again, without any success. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. I would like to add to what Artur just mentioned. Mustafa Dzhemilov participated in one of the sessions and pointed out to discrimination of Crimean Tatars in the occupied Crimea, and all the rapporteurs who spoke on the on the topic of security in Europe, they all pointed out to this issue. Artur and Dunya Mijatovic recognized that from March 2014, they have no access to Crimea, and they are unable to monitor the situation there. And OSCE is very much concerned how to monitor situation in the territories which are now occupied, and probably in nearest future OSCE delegations, special monitoring missions will come, which will try to reach that places in Ukraine which are now occupied in Crimea. Also, it was discussed that special observation missions at the Ukrainian-Russian border should be strengthened. Now we have only 4 missions which cover just 4 kilometers out of 400, and this allows Russia to supply ammunition, weapons, etc. And we pointed out during one of the sittings that OSCE has to strengthen its presence and observation missions, monitoring missions, in order to prevent Russian Federations from such supplies. Also, there was an issue about reliable information from occupied territories. As for human rights and democracy, we discussed humanitarian component of this issue. We mentioned the number of killed women. More than 450 women were killed, and 67 children are victims of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. More than 170 children were wounded in course of this conflict, and OSCE bodies underscored that they will take priority on IDPs, which have reached more than 1 million. They will concentrate on women and children issues. Also, the idea of strengthening the sanctions was expressed. Specifically, Canada stated that they are going to continue sanctions against some special banks, and also they are now beginning the campaign Putin go out from Ukraine. Also, there were some member countries who mentioned that if Putin won't stop shelling and aggression, then the United Kingdom will review its decision about supplies of weapons, and they finally will provide Ukraine with lethal weapons. So now there is the issue, there is time when Putin have to make steps towards implementation of agreements, withdraw weapons, stop shelling, etc. Austria is a rather specific country in terms of anti-Russian work. Now we have a new ambassador to this country, Mr. Sherba, and he's working hard trying to counteract Russian propaganda and Russian information war against Ukraine. He provides true information in these hard times. Thank you very much.
I see that you are tired, so a few words about the lobby part of our interaction with the political elite and MPs at the summit, at the meeting of the Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE. Artur has mentioned already about the
в Австрії. Вони підготували
respect with which we address our Ukrainian community in Austria. They prepared very good booklets with all the evidence about the participation of Russian Federation in the war. It has very good pictures and the description of what is used there. And when we were disseminating that, it was a surprise for us that non-officially, there's no doubt for anyone, all the MPs of Europe understand that this is the aggression of Russia. Russian propaganda, despite all these billions of rubles that they channel to cooperation with Europe, these $350 million which are spent for Russia today, they fail to convince European elite that this is not an aggression of Russian Federation. Everyone unofficially recognizes that, and they understand it perfectly well. Secondly, we have become the witnesses of what tactic Russia will be using in our conflict. We have information that Mr. Puskov, who's one of the MPs of Russia, and sanctions are applied against him, and European Union spent the whole day to get to different offices in Austria and to say that Debaltseva is everything, Debaltseva is the end, we will not go any further. We see that Russia understands that they failed to lie to the world. They see that the sanctions are acting, and we will understand who our, if we understand who our partners and allies in the West are, then we will manage to achieve the situation when Russia collapses. And the following tactics of Russian Federation is clear. They will be saying that they are for peace. They want to come to terms. They will try to pull the authorities and parliamentarians into some negotiations with them, and they will be trying to start a fence in our front. All the parliamentarians, all the elite of Europe understands it. They understand that the ceasefire is violated by Russia. We see that there is a pool of people from Baltic states, from other countries, who are for strengthening the sanctions, for providing lethal weapons. And at the unofficial level, many people were saying that they understand that lethal weapons are to be supplied to us, and I understand that this will somehow be really resolved, and we'll get it. That's all about all these lobbyists and unofficial activities. I would also like to add one thing that was very, very important. Really, Alek Naide, who supports us a lot. She's an MP from Lithuania, Vice President of the Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE, but we've heard her opinion from many people. They talk not just to us, they talk to Russia as well. Guys, if you do not stop, you will have to save your country, because Russia today is in a bigger danger than the rest of the world. Thank you. Oleg Polivanov, Время Agency. Did you do you know the data that OSCE provides? Does this data differ from Ukrainian data? Because they have understanding based on this source. Probably they do not take into consideration Russian sources. Yes, we talked about that, but I will answer your question. The ambassador Pakan spoke, Hadi Telavini was there, and they openly said that unfortunately at present OSCE mission, because of the terrorists, is not allowed to many places at the front line, to the occupied territory, and because of that, OSCE cannot provide objective figures. They say what they see. But in Debaltseva, they were allowed to get there, not immediately. Nizhnoye, Taras, Krasnoluch, they're not allowed to go there, and they mentioned that openly. And you understand why we have this difference in figures. But we were very seriously saying that the efficiency of the work of the OSCE mission, special monitoring mission, and also what is very important, that OSCE mission in Russian Federation and in Crimea should be enhanced. And the participants of our delegation mentioned that the main thing is to close the borders. But again, I will add to what Artur said. We were saying a lot that OSCE mission is to be present on the occupied territory in Crimea. Everyone recognizes Crimea to be officially to be occupied. We have not heard any comments that, okay, that's Russia. No, everyone recognizes that the borders of Ukraine should be integral and sovereign. And they were saying that we need to achieve to get the OSCE observers be present in Crimea, but they get lots of facts about the persecution of Crimean Tatars along their channels, about the tortures applied, about the situation with the freedom of speech. They have a lot of information, and if they could, together with the civilized world, if we could achieve that OSCE mission is in Crimea, that would be good. And unofficially, they understand they cannot work where on the occupied by Russian territories. The terrorists stopped them and turned them back, and they're not allowed there. They're not stupid ones. some of our politicians are calling them some names, but they see it well, they understand it well, they understand who's guilty in this conflict, and all official words sooner or later will be pronounced. Thank you, colleagues. It's a pleasure to hear about such victories at the international level. Our MPs from different political forces are now like one team. You presented the result of work at the Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE. A few days ago, we had the briefing of MPs after the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. That's very valuable, what you are doing for our victory. But we are the members of Parliament. We are the people's deputies of Ukraine. We are not representatives of parties. Our next briefing will take place in a minute.